Hello children, today we are starting with the 6th chapter, Soil Erosion and Conservation. Soil is one of the natural resources that we have. That means it's a gift from nature. Soil is the uppermost layer of the earth's crust. That means the topmost layer of the crust. Below that we have rocks and water. So it is the topmost layer of the earth crust where different animals live, like ants, earthworms and so on. Soil contains stones, air, water, dead plants and animals and many more things. Plants grow in soil. We all know that. We depend on plants for our food. So we can clearly say that we depend on soil. Our life is not possible without soil. Let us learn about the formation of soil, how it was formed. During the formation of earth, there were only air, water, sunlight and hard, huge rocks. No plants or animals were there. These rocks had sunlight fallen on them. I'll show you with the picture. See, I've shown here rocks, sun and rainwater. Sunlight and rainwater will not be there at the same time. I just showed this for you to understand. Okay. So these huge rocks were present, huge hard rocks. Sunlight, when the sun shines, the sunlight falls on them and heated them up. When rain falls, the water falls on them and cooled them. And the wind blew over them. And because of the actions of the sun, water, the rainwater and the wind, that means heating, cooling and the pressure applied by the wind, the hard rocks started breaking down. But this process did not stop there. This process, that is the action of air, water and sunlight, continued for millions of years, and as a result of it, the rocks started breaking down, the rock pieces started breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces. And after many years, it became tiny particles. After forming these tiny particles, it again took millions of years to form the loose material called soil that we have now. So process of formation of soil does not happen in 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 months or 1 or 2 years. It takes millions and millions and millions of years to form. So from it is very clear that it is a very precious natural resource. Once it gets over, we cannot get it back. So we are going to learn about more things about soil. I told you air and water played a major role, or wind and water played a major role in the formation of soil. The same wind and water can cause harm to the soil also. Do you know how? We can learn it in this chapter. Soil is carried away by wind and water. You might have seen rainwater flowing through the ground. That is, it becomes muddy. Rainwater, when it falls, it is not muddy. Only when it touches the ground, it becomes muddy. That means it takes the soil and becomes muddy. Same way, sometimes when the wind blows, you can feel dust particles coming onto your face. What is actually the dust particles? Soil particles, very fine soil particles. So that means air and water, or wind and water, takes soil along with it, and this washing away of soil or wearing off of soil by wind or water is termed as soil erosion. What is it? Soil erosion. The condition of wearing off or carrying away or washing off of soil by air and water is called soil erosion. And soil erosion, due to soil erosion, mainly the top soil, that means the topmost layer of the soil, will be washed away. And there are several bad effects for this. Land loses its fertility. What is fertility? Nutrients present in the soil makes the soil fertile, which helps plant to grow. Not only nutrients, humus, everything that is necessary for a plant to grow. So when the topsoil is lost, everything is lost along with it. So what happens? The land will be good for nothing. Plants will not grow properly, crops will not grow properly. So farmers reap poor harvest. The harvest will be very poor. That means very small quantity of products will be obtained or crops will be obtained. And plants even die because of soil erosion. When they lose the soil in which they are growing, when the soil is washed away, they loses their stability and they will die out. So these are the main things that affects plants or the land due to soil erosion. So the agents which are responsible for the formation of soil itself acts as harm for the soil. So if we want to control the soil erosion, that is the washing away of soil, we have to know what causes the soil erosion. So that is what we are going to study now. The different agents of soil erosion. Agents means the factors which cause soil erosion. So the three main factors which cause soil erosion is water, wind and human activity. Of course, humans will be there as a factor for all types of things happening around us, isn't it? We always cause harm to nature. So water, wind and human activities are the three agents that are responsible for soil erosion that occurs around us. Let us study everything in detail, okay? First, we can take the case of water. Water as an agent of soil erosion. I have shown here hill slopes, okay? Can you see it or can you know that it is a hill slope by seeing this picture? So, when water is flowing down a hill, especially in places where it is hills, the hilly areas and all, when water is flowing down the hill, the water carries the soil of the hill slopes and all this water, all this mud or soil is carried to the bottom of that hill. And that hill slope becomes unfit for cultivation. Nothing can be grown there. So that affects the productivity of that place. One such example is the Chambal Valley in Madhya Pradesh. Chambal Valley in Madhya Pradesh, it is a slope like that from which the whole soil was lost due to soil erosion by water. And what happened? It is not good for cultivation now. Same way, flooded rivers and running water from the areas of flooded rivers and all, the water carries the mud along with it and that places lose their topsoil too much. Recently when we had, last year, when we had flood, we have seen that each and every house was filled with water that was not clean water, that was muddy water, isn't it? If you have not experienced it directly, you might have seen in the news and all, in the TV. That is, it is muddy water because the water when it flows, it always carries what? The topsoil along with it. Same way, some rivers, when they are starting from the hill slopes, they carry the soil from the hill slope, as I have told you now. And after the hill slope, there will be some plain region. So when the water flows through the hill slope, it will have too much speed. Like you ride a bicycle and all on a hill slope. When it is a hill slope, if you are riding it down, you will have too much of speed, isn't it? And when it becomes a plain area, plain road, what happens? The speed slowly reduces and you will come to the normal speed. Same way, water coming down from a hill, it has too much speed. It moves faster, flows faster and carries too much of soil also. When it reaches a plain region, the speed reduces. And when the speed reduces, this water deposits some amount of soil on that plain area. Soil which was carried from the top will be deposited in the plain area. And what happens? When it is deposited in the plain area, the remaining water moves down. Again it moves through a hill, carries all the soil, and again it reaches the plain area, deposits some soil. So in such a situation, if a river is flowing down like this, suppose a river is flowing through a hill, what happens? The river carries the mud, and when it reaches a plain area, it deposits it there. So when this deposition of soil and silt continues for many years, this plain area gets accumulated with soil, and a condition arises when the river will not be able to move forward with the water. What happens? Due to the soil accumulated there. And what happens? One moment the river changes its course. Course means the direction through which it flows. The river changes its course. Can you imagine a situation when a river flowing through a normal path, one moment when you wake up, or one day when you wake up and look, the river just has changed its course, its direction. It is flowing through the right side of your house. Suppose it was flowing through the back side of your house. One moment when you wake up, it flows through the right side of your house. Can you imagine that? No, because we might have built our house according to the flowing of river. And what happens? One moment if it changes the course, it can affect destruction, or if it can cause destruction to a lot of people, their life and their property, their houses and all. So that is a very dangerous situation, and the situations were there when these things happen. For example, in China, a river called Yellow River, it is called Sorrow of China, Yellow River, okay. It is also called Huanghe River. What is it? Huanghe, Yellow River of China. It is called the Sorrow of China because it changes its direction frequently and causes lots of destruction to people and their properties. Same way, River Kosi in Bihar. It is there in examples are there in your textbook. Refer your textbook, okay? River Kosi in Bihar also created a great havoc when it killed lakhs of people due to this changing of course. And how does this changing of course happen? A river flowing down a hill carries the mud along or soil along with it. In plain region, it deposits the soil, and when this continued for millions and millions of years, what happens? The soil gets accumulated and the river will not be able to flow through that way, so it changes its course. Water should flow through some way, isn't it? Water has great force, and because of its force, it just takes a deviation and flow through another way. So, soil erosion by water can lead to many dangerous situations. Okay? Second agent is wind. Mainly in desert and semi-desert areas, wind will be taking soil along with it. But in our areas, it is not too much felt because we have lots of buildings around us and there is no space for wind to carry away the soil and blow faster. Okay, but semi-desert and desert areas, there is lot of space. So what happens? And the wind is also too much strong. So they carry soil. That means top soil is carried along with the wind. And along with the topsoil, the manure or the fertilizer that we add to the plants will also be taken away. Okay? That means normally we add fertilizers to the soil, directly put it on top of the soil, isn't it? We don't dig the soil and put fertilizers. You just put it near the stem of, that means the portion where the stem touches the ground, you put it there near the plant. But actually you are adding it to the top soil, you are not digging the soil and putting. So what happens when the soil is washed away, the topsoil is washed away, the fertilizers or manures that you add to the topsoil will also be carried away. So will the plants be able to grow properly? No, because you are adding manure and fertilizers to grow the plant, isn't it? So what happens? It affects the growth of the plant and the productivity will be less. Sometimes when the topsoil is removed, the plants will not be able to stand stable, they will die out also. So soil erosion by wind also causes several problems, mainly affects the plants, growth of plants. And the third point or third agent is human activities. Three kinds of human activities. Humans mainly do harm to nature in order to satisfy his own needs. For space, for furnitures, and for many other things we destroy nature. Selfish needs, isn't it? So here also there are some activities that is done by human beings which affects the soil erosion or which acts as an agent of soil erosion. The first one is deforestation. What do you mean by deforestation? Deforestation means cutting down of trees in a large scale. That means destructing or cutting down trees in a forest. That is called deforestation. I told you plants can stand firmly in soil. That means roots of the plants holds the soil very tightly. That is how the soil is conserved. Okay. So when trees are cut down, there is no more plants to hold the soil. The roots is not there to hold the soil. So soil there becomes loose and it is easily carried away by wind and water. Okay, that is how deforestation acts as an agent of soil erosion. How? When you cut down trees, there will not be roots of the plants or trees to hold the soil. So what happens? The soil becomes loose and it is taken away by wind or water. The second type of activity is ploughing along hillslope. Ploughing means loosening the soil. If you plough the soil along hill slopes, what happens? When water or wind flows through it, it takes the soil easily because water and wind will have too much speed in the hill slopes. And what happens? It takes whole soil along with it if you have ploughed or loosened the soil. So ploughing along hill slopes is not a good idea. Even if you plant crops there, it is okay. But even for planting crops, you need not plough it. Just loosen the soil there and plant it as early as possible. If you wait for 2 or 3 days, the soil will be washed away with the wind or water. And the third thing is overgrazing by cattle. Grazing means what? Cattle eating grass or plants from an area. And if this area is selected for many years, for the cattle to graze, what happens? If the same area is selected, what happens? The plants from there will be eaten too much and the land become barren without any plants. Barren means without any plants. Simple land without any plants. So these plants are vulnerable or prone to soil erosion. There is more chance for soil erosion in barren land where there are no plants. So if one day you take cattle to graze in one area, the next day or next week that area should be changed so that new plants can grow in that area and the land will not become barren. Because once if it becomes without plants, it will be prone to soil erosion. So these are the human activities that cause soil erosion. So we learned about soil, importance of soil, how soil was formed, and how much time soil took to form, and what is soil erosion, the agents of soil erosion, and how these agents help or how these agents make soil erosion. Okay, so by knowing this, we can try to control or prevent the soil erosion to some extent. We cannot control these natural factors completely. Can you stop wind from blowing? No. Can you stop water when rainwater comes or when river comes? Can you ask river to stop there? Soil will be lost. You just stop their river. Can you tell like that? No. So normal natural factors cannot be prevented or cannot be stopped, but by adopting some methods we can control the effect of soil erosion that is caused by natural factors. And human activities we can control it, but we have to be responsible in taking an action against controlling it. Okay, we have to take initiative to control it so that we can protect the soil, which is a very important natural resource. So just read your textbook. I have taken till human activities that cause soil erosion. Next chapter we learn about how to conserve or protect soil for the future generations. Okay, so read the textbook, mark the points and study well. Thank you, children.